Hello, souls and demons, and welcome to the portal. Have you ever had an experience with something you thought was a spirit or a demon, or anything that you feel was paranormal? Well, today's stories focus on just that. I have 7 supposedly true stories of paranormal encounters. So sit back, grip your seats, and enjoy. A figure that looks like my husband. A little bit of background. I'm sensitive and have had quite a bit of encounters since young. I would say nothing malicious. The encounters, disturbances, sensing certain atmosphere changes, hearing odd noises and seeing weird shadows, had decreased significantly ever since I met my husband. He's a bit of a skeptic but respectful of my experiences. Over the years, I adopted the pay no attention attitude, and it really helps with the disturbances and occurrences. So a couple of nights ago, I got woken up in the middle of the night. I'm not sure if it's my crazy dreams or sensing something looking at me. I saw a silhouette getting up from my dressing table, walking towards my bedroom door. My bed is right beside the dressing table and chair. In my confusion, initially, I thought it was my husband, as it looked like him when the shadow was standing at the door. However, something in my mind told me it doesn't seem right. I turned over to touch and check for my husband, and there he was, sound asleep. Literally felt something heavy drop to my stomach when I found him sleeping. I turned back and the shadow was gone. Ever since that night, I've been quite unlucky. Accidentally cutting or burning myself, hitting on bed, corner, door frames, etc. I'm just a little creeped out, but it's been a while and really crazy to see a mimic of my husband, who has always been a kind of talisman against the paranormal. I passed out when I had a close encounter with a female spirit, and had an encounter with a spirit animal sometime afterwards. Background. Before I was born, my mother moved around a lot. She settled down in the city for a decade and decided to move closer to her family later on in life. This was due to her grandmother's illness getting worse, so she moved into a house which was 30 minutes away. Female spirit. I've lived in that house all my life. It was the house where I had both of these paranormal encounters. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I remember it being a Saturday afternoon. I woke up from a nap and no one was in the house, just my mother that was asleep in her bedroom. I went down the hall stairs and went towards the kitchen door. As I was opening the door, I saw something move at the corner of my eye. I turned and looked. What I saw had me stunned for the rest of my experience. I saw a 6-foot or 7-foot woman appearing from the wall next to me. She was towering over me in height. Again, I was 4 or 5 years old when this happened to me. The woman looked faded, but I remember seeing some color on her. She was a pale-skinned woman with long brunette hair that wore a long white dress. I don't remember if it was a wedding dress, but I do remember her having some sort of a white crown around her hair. Regardless, when she saw me, she couldn't stop staring at me. Her eyes were fixated on me for the entire encounter. We were standing next to each other, staring at one another, and neither of us were moving. The whole experience felt like it was going on for a minute. Then she began to move closer to me. She began to kneel towards my face. Her face moved in towards mine. I then remember passing out on the spot. When I woke up next to the kitchen door, my whole family were around me trying to get me up. They asked what happened to me, but I avoided telling them at the time. I remember going into the kitchen and seeing that it was now the evening instead of the afternoon. I was passed out for 2 to 3 hours. This happened to me over 20 years ago, and I've never forgotten about this experience. Spirit animal. It was 3 to 4 years back after the previous event. I was 7 turning 8 soon, and it was a school night. After finishing my homework and hanging out with some local children, I was at home watching Stargate SG-1 on Sky 1. I needed to go into one of the rooms upstairs to get something, so I decided to do it during the ad break. I went up the hall stairs, and when I walked past one of the rooms, I saw a spirit animal walk down alongside my mother's bed. The animal appeared to be a dog, a Jack Russell Terrier to be exact. I again was frozen on the spot, but this time I didn't feel scared. I was watching the dog walk around the room until the dog began walking towards the corner wall. When the dog was going this direction, the spirit turned its head to the side and began watching me. Me and the dog were watching each other for what felt like 5 minutes. The spirit then moved its head towards the wall and walked the direction while disappearing. I thought at the time I was dreaming, until I went back downstairs and saw the ad break for Stargate SG-1 had been over for some time. End. I never told my family these stories until my mother one day spoke about the people who lived in the house before us. She met them before moving in and said a lovely woman in her 80s lived here with her Jack Russell dog. Hearing this has led me to believe that the spirits I've seen were of those who lived in this house before us. Seeing the female spirit could have been the woman at a younger stage, or not her at all. The spirit animal and the woman's dog were the exact same breed of creature. I've wanted to share these stories for some time. If you've managed to get this far, thanks for reading. Watched an object move across my table at a restaurant. Okay, so this is insane, but today I was at IHOP with a friend and was eating pancakes while out of the corner of my eye, I literally saw my plastic syrup container start to move at a slow, but definitely noticeable pace. Nothing was touching it. It was about halfway full. The table was extremely steady and sturdy and flat. No water on the table, nothing. It stopped moving for a second and I was literally baffled. I couldn't move, I just froze as it started moving again. It stopped again and then started moving faster, and I finally snapped out of it and tried to point it out to my friend and tell him, "Did you see that?" And right when I did, it stopped moving. I was literally shook after. I was searching for a reason why it could have moved and found none. I felt an energy sort of around me while it moved. I've been in touch with the other side and my spirituality lately, so I'm not surprised something like this would happen. But it was kind of scary and offsetting. When I got home, I did a quick pendulum dowsing with my friend, and it said yes to a spirit moving the cup of syrup. So I know I wasn't hallucinating. Very cool, very creepy. I just wanted to share, believe me or not. Thanks for reading. Pretty sure something is in the attic and wants to make it to my room. I'm a teenager who has been living under my stepdad's roof for a while. We all know that he had a wife before that died in the house, and now I don't think she likes me. Let me start from the beginning. I was making some food for me because my mom nor stepdad was home. It was some ramen that I was putting in the microwave for dinner. Once the microwave was done cooking, I walked to it, but a pan fell on my head. Now, people could say, oh, it was probably not on there right or something. But this was different. All of the pans were on the wall, that's where our hanger is. And this pan must have been thrown to hit me on the head. Another time was a month after. It was 12 a.m. and I had just gotten to sleep. But out of nowhere, I hear a creak in the floorboards in the attic. Now, I've seen some horror movies. In fact, they're my favorite genre. And in those movies, if you hear something, then you shouldn't go up there. So I stayed in bed hoping it would go away. And it did eventually, but then what I heard in my closet was fear-inducing. I heard groans from inside of my closet. After a few more moments, it stopped. But then the creak in the floorboards started again. It was just back and forth moaning. Moan, stop, creak, stop, moan again, etc. I had no idea what to do, so I tried falling back asleep. And I did. Next morning, a pepper was on the TV stand. My family explained if there was an unexplained pepper randomly appearing out of nowhere, it was most likely a demon. I was freaking out and screaming all around. My parents were out of town, so what was I gonna do? Call the police? I had to wait out a week with the same thing happening over and over again. The weird part was, this wasn't happening to my brother, only me. Was I just hated and my brother favorited? I needed help. Ever since then, I've had countless sleep paralysis almost every single night. Entity is mimicking my girlfriend and her roommates. I live with my girlfriend and her best friend, and her best friend's boyfriend. Lately, some very strange occurrences have been happening around the house. It started out small, like seeing shadows and the floors creaking like someone is walking on it. It is an old house, so I believe it could very well be the floor settling. But lately something has taken a turn for the unsettling. We have all had experiences of hearing one of us, any of the house members, talking when that person who was talking said nothing. For example, my girlfriend has heard me say something she couldn't quite make out coming from the bathroom. The problem was, I was in the kitchen. This has happened to all of us. However, tonight when my girlfriend and I got home from dinner, we heard her best friend's boyfriend in their bedroom loudly talking, laughing on and off for an hour. He plays video games, so we assumed he was playing. At one point I thought he asked one of us to come here, but I said, "What's up?" and heard nothing back and assumed he had his headphones on, so I brushed it off. He just let his girlfriend know that he needs a ride home from work. He has been working all day. I believe something is in this house with us, and I'm worried it's begun to mimic us. And I'm not sure what the purpose of it would be. But I don't want to find out. Hide and seek. When I was about 13, I was playing hide and seek with my 3 little sisters, my brother and his friend. We have 3 rooms in the house upstairs, so we had plenty of room to play. My brother's friend and I decided to do the seeking while my brother and sisters did the hiding. We counted, then started the search. The first room we entered, we found my youngest sister, so she just waited till we found the others. As we walked into the second room to search, we both look left and see a little girl duck behind the dresser, but she did not look familiar at all. We gasped and looked at each other in shock, then walked to see who it was, and literally no one was near that area. I didn't feel so scared. I mostly just was super intrigued with the situation, but I can tell my brother's friend was scared because he turned pale. I remember vividly how the little girl looked. She had long black hair and a white dress, with light skin, but her face wasn't so clear. That had to be one of my most favorite experiences with the paranormal, only because I'd witnessed it with someone else, and it made me realize that there was more out there, but really nothing to be scared of. Every now and then I'll see the same visual around the house, along with my older sibling saying she sees something similar. I would also see her in my sleep paralysis, but that's a whole different story. My sleep paralysis experience. Around a year ago now, my boyfriend and I took a break. He moved back in with his parents for a while, leaving me alone in our apartment. I don't feel that our place is haunted, but I have always been sensitive. And safe to say obsessed with all things spooky. The first night he was gone, I had terrifying sleep paralysis. Our apartment is in the upper of an old duplex my father got cheap when he was young, as it was nearly condemned. When you walk through the apartment, you can feel the steps. I'm a small gal, barely 120 pounds. and even when I walk, you can hear the glasses in our cupboard shake. It's not uncommon to feel the downstairs neighbor's steps while laying in bed. At the time this happened, our neighbors were on vacation, so I had the whole place to myself. I turned in for the night and entered a state of sleep paralysis. I opened my eyes and knew what was happening right away, as I've had it before, but never anything close to this. I felt and heard someone coming down the hallway towards my room. Initially in my groggy state, I assumed it was my boyfriend. But as the slow steps came closer, I remembered it couldn't be him. I knew it was someone or something heavy. I couldn't turn my head but looked towards the door on my left with my eyes. It got darker as something blocked the light coming through the hallway. Then, to my horror, a dark, very tall figure entered my room. Its head was close to hitting the ceiling. It had abnormally long, skinny arms, and I knew it wasn't human. It filled me with an overwhelming sense of dread. My heart was racing as I walked down toward the foot of my bed and made its way to the other side. I tried to scream when I felt it get onto my bed, but it wouldn't come out. I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't. I have a king-size bed, so I felt each move it made as it crawled towards me. It was heavy enough that it made an indentation on the mattress, deep enough that my right side was lower than my left. Then it was looming over me. Its head was large, long, and skinny, and it looked what looked like a crown of thorns on, but it was pitch black. There weren't even facial features, it was just pure shadow. I didn't know what it was, but I knew darn well it was evil. It took its huge hands with long fingers and grabbed my hand and squeezed it harder and harder. I started reciting the Lord's Prayer in my mind and was able to wake up. When I did, the figure was gone, but my hand was still sore from being squeezed, and I still felt there was something negative with me. I felt like my room was darker than usual. Needless to say, I slept with the light on for the rest of the night. The next day when I came home from work, the apartment still didn't feel like home. I felt uneasy, so I said out loud, "This is my home, my domain, and you aren't welcome here. You're not welcome in my space or anywhere near me." And I meant it. I was more pissed off than scared that something would try to take advantage of me when I was weak from a very stressful situation. It worked. I would occasionally get an uneasy feeling from time to time over the next week or so, but each time I would just say a prayer and know that this was my home, and nothing dark was going to get comfortable here so long as I live and breathe. I haven't experienced anything like it since, but I will never forget that horrifying visitor. I've told myself a million times that it was just my stress getting the best of me, but in my gut I know something was trying to take advantage of me being off my game. I don't spook easily. I'm the type of person who watches horror movies before bed and sleeps like a baby, and I've always been perfectly fine doing this even living on my own. I've had plenty of other paranormal encounters. Some made me feel a little creeped out, but nothing felt so negative or evil as it did, and I have never been more scared.